Hello everyone, this is Somansh Arora and welcome to our new series Learning Linux in 20 chapters. So we are starting with the first and basic thing, that is what is Linux. Let's go ahead. So Linux is generally referred to as an operating system worldwide. However, it represents a whole family of OS which are actually based on the Linux kernel. So what is Linux kernel? Linux kernel is just a simple code. Uh, I wouldn't say it's a simple code, it's actually more than 50,000 lines of codes. So, Linux kernel is a code that actually manages your hardware for the other applications. So, all the applications, all the shell, all the commands runs and then gives their request to the kernel, and the kernel then manages the hardware accordingly. So this kernel was written by Linus Torvalds. He is from Finland in 1991, and yes, his organization is still keeping the Linux kernel up to date every few weeks. So as we have told that this is not a complete OS, we'll be going ahead in this video and explaining it in more. Linux is a very major player in the server world, so all the big companies and their major applications, let's say Google, Facebook, HP, Dell, whatever major websites or major companies, they are running on Linux and Windows servers, and Linux covers a very big percentage of the operating system they are using. And it is also considered to as more stable than Windows. However, Windows OS is considered as easy to use. However, Linux is considered uh, more stable. The most important part is that this is open source. Yes. So everything that Linus created, he gave away all the code just for the community so that a community can add more and then use it as per they want to use it. So I'll show you what kind of architecture is there in a Linux operating system and where does the Linux stand. So this is the typical architecture of an Linux OS. It contains of application compilers, you have shells, and inside of that you have kernel, and then the core is hardware. So all the applications, compilers, commands, editors talk to the shell, and shell and libraries talk to the kernel. So and the kernel then interacts with hardware and makes things done. So this is the part where kernel actually comes in the use. So Linux is actually this part, kernel. So any OS can use this Linux kernel, and they can get their own applications, command shells. Even you can write your own shell. If you're using the open source Linux kernel, your OS will also be called a Linux OS. So that's pretty much of it. And this is also one more example of a typical Red Hat or CentOS OS architecture. So there's a user space, kernel space, and library, system daemon, shell, tools, all the libraries. And this is the Linux kernel. So the whole system is using Linux kernel. So the total thing is not a Linux, it's just the kernel that is Linux. And there are very major players in the industry that are using Linux kernel and are updating a lot of OSs. These are the very few OSs that are very famous worldwide, and on an enterprise level they are being very good. So there are enterprise edition of the OS, there are desktop editions of the OS. So you have it for all of the purposes. So you can search more on on these websites like Red Hat, Slackware, Debian, and Ubuntu. You can download it, use it. You have to pay no fees. So it's pretty much uh, almost all are free except few like Red Hat. So you won't be able to download it until and unless you have a subscription. They run on a subscription model. You can download Ubuntu for your desktop. That's very good. And you can, if you want a free OS, you can use CentOS for your enterprise and Red Hat. So that's it. And in next video, we'll be telling about file systems, how file systems are working in Linux. So do watch the next video. And you can always follow us on YouTube to get on more knowledge. Thank you.